Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Another international break has been and gone. Club football is on the verge of returning this weekend. And what a way for it to return. We have got a massive game right off the bat this weekend to kick off another round of Premier League fixtures. Some interesting ties to fill our Saturday with. Sunday is very intriguing as well, with a couple of massive games there. And then to round off, we have a Monday night fixture as well. This is obviously the video where we get into all of the games, talk about them and give predictions as to how I think the games will end up. But before we get into all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. But and of course, get involved in the comment section as well. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on each and every single Premier League game to take place and to kick off this weekend in another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures. But without further ado, let's get on with the predictions. We're going to jump ahead to Saturday's 3 o'clock games, and first up we're at Turf Moor for Burnley against West Ham. Massive game this one for both of these sides. You've got a Burnley side who have been extremely poor and are rock bottom of the table right now. Even Everton's 10-point deduction didn't see Burnley rise off the foot of the table. Whilst West Ham are going along very well, they're in 9th place, but they suffered a couple of heavy blows during the international break with long-term injuries to star men Mikel Antonio and Jared Bowen. This could be a game in which Burnley fancy their chances in. They are seeing that West Ham are a bit hurt right now with a couple of big injuries, but West Ham still have the capabilities, the squad depth and everything else to really hurt this Burnley side. And especially if Burnley don't adapt soon, with them not getting enough points on the board, it could be a very short-lived return to the Premier League for Vincent Kompany's side. With that all being said, Burnley getting something from this game isn't completely out of the question, but I have to go with an away win, and I've got to say that West Ham win this game by 2-1. Next up, Kenilworth Road play host to a London derby of sorts as Luton Town host Crystal Palace. Big game this one, intriguing game. You've got Luton who are coming off the back of a 1-0 defeat against Manchester United before the international break. You've got Crystal Palace who themselves are coming off the back of a loss as well. 3-2 to Everton, of course. Luton at home could be very difficult for Palace. And of course, this Palace side have been very hit and miss all season. On paper, you would probably expect Palace to be the victors here. But as we've seen time and time again, Palace inconsistency does hit them in the most awkward of places. So this one could be a very awkward game for Palace to contend with. For Luton, as long as they take their chances, they'll definitely get something from this game. They can be very difficult. Liverpool saw that the last time Luton were at home. So this game has all the makings of a very awkward game for both of these sides. Palace certainly have the players to put Luton away, but Luton certainly have the potential, the home crowd behind them, and the absolute awkwardness to get something from this game. I'm going to have to go with a draw. I would be leaning more towards a Palace win, and all things considered, they are seemingly the favourites heading into this game, but I think Luton maybe can get something from this game. So I'm going to go with a draw, and I'm going to say that this game will end 1-1 come the final whistle. Next up, a huge game at St James's Park as Newcastle take on Chelsea. Huge game this one between a Newcastle side who of course will be wanting to get back to winning ways after his shock 2-0 defeat at the hands of Bournemouth before the international break, whilst Chelsea picked up a huge point in an extremely entertaining 4-4 finish against Manchester City. This one is very interesting to me. Newcastle at home are always going to be difficult to break down no matter what side you've got playing. Newcastle also have a lot of injuries to contend with. This one could be what Chelsea are fancying their chances in because of the amount of injuries that Newcastle currently possess. Chelsea, things are slowly starting to seemingly fit together for them. They're slowly starting to get to grips with things. It's not all there yet, and you wouldn't expect Rome to be built in a day, of course, but it's slowly showing signs that they are getting better. They're slowly showing signs that they are becoming a bit of a force again. And in these types of games where you may expect Chelsea to sort of falter in or to stutter a little bit, they have proven to be very difficult opposition. We saw that at the beginning of the season when they drew to Liverpool. We saw that when they drew to Arsenal. We saw that a couple of weeks ago when they drew to Manchester City. What could be a very difficult game for both of these sides? I'm going to go with an away win. I think that Newcastle probably could get something from this game, being at home, having still the players to sort of do it. But at the same time, I think the injury concerns might be a bit too much for them, especially the ones that are in key areas. And I think Chelsea could potentially take advantage. And I think with the kind of wave that they're riding on, from beating the likes of Tottenham to drawing to the likes of Arsenal and picking up an unlikely point against Manchester City, I think Chelsea can continue that wave of form even after the international break. So that's why I'm going to go with a Chelsea win. And I'm going to say that this game will end 2-1 in favour of the Blues. Next up, we're off to the City Ground for Nottingham Forest's clash with Brighton. Forest, of course, coming into this game off the back of a 3-2 defeat to West Ham, of course, whilst Brighton drew 1-1 with Sheffield United. Not actually won in their last, is it 6 or 7 games, have Brighton? They're on a bit of a winless run right now, but they still find themselves in 8th position in the table. Forest, inconsistent to say the least. I believe 16th, 15th, somewhere in that region of the Premier League table. So this one is going to be very interesting to say the least. Forest, of course, at home. We know how difficult they can be at home. And we know that they may fancy their chances against the Brighton side, who haven't quite hit the form of recent seasons yet. Now, there is a reason, or part of a reason for that is the amount of injuries that Brighton have picked up across the beginning of their campaign. So, it could be very interesting to see how both teams approach this one. On paper, you probably would expect Brighton to have the players and obviously the ability to go on and win this game. But Forest will always be tough opposition, particularly at home. And as we have seen a few times this season, Forest have picked up wins in unlikely circumstances and in circumstances that you probably wouldn't have expected them to pick up. Away against Chelsea, at home against an in-form Aston Villa side, to say the least. I want to say Brighton win, but I'm going to go with a draw. And I'm going to say that this game will end 2-2 come the final whistle. Again, it's a bit thrown out there, but I think 2-2 is what's going to happen at the end of the game. Next up, a possible relegation 6 points already at this stage of the season as Sheffield United host Bournemouth at Bramall Lane. Massive game this one for Sheffield United side, who actually coming into this game off the back of a couple of good results in recent weeks. Obviously, they beat Wolves and then they went on to draw with Brighton last time out. Couple of big results there for the Blades, while Bournemouth will be riding high off that massive 2-0 victory against Newcastle last time out before the international break. So, a couple of big results for both of these sides going into this one. I reckon you probably would expect Bournemouth to go on and win this game. I would rate them to be the favourites, but that isn't to completely rule out the improvement that we've seen in Sheffield United in recent weeks in terms of the fight, the spirit of that club. And they're going to need it again, and they're going to need to feed off the energy of the home crowd again if they are to get something from this game. Bournemouth, I'd say it time and time again, they play some nice football, but they just don't have enough consistency or a prolific ability in front of goal to put away oppositions when the opportunities do arise. However, in saying that, I think they'll have enough in this game to get by this Sheffield United side, which is why I'm going to say that this game will end 1-0 to the Cherries. Our Saturday evening viewing, I'm sure, is going to make for interesting and exciting viewing as Brentford are going to be taking on Arsenal 5:30 Saturday night. Brentford will be looking to get back to winning ways in this one after losing 3-0 to Liverpool last time out, whilst Arsenal will be looking to make it back-to-back wins with a victory over Burnley last time out by 3-1 being their latest result. And of course, the added incentive for the Gunners is that obviously the top two teams currently in the division will be playing each other this weekend as well. So an opportunity to take advantage of at least one of them dropping points this weekend. Huge game for both sides. I cannot wait to see this one. Brentford would always be tough opposition for anybody, and I feel like in these types of games against the bigger teams of the division, I feel like they often turn up, and I feel like they're often really big thorns in the sides of those kinds of oppositions. Arsenal could be no exception, particularly with Brentford being at home. So this one could be very interesting between two contrasting sides. You've got Brentford's counter-attacking, very quick counter-attacking direct approach. You've got Arsenal with obviously the way that they like to build up and they like to play football. So this one could be a very intriguing game between two contrasting sides that I'm very much looking forward to. Brentford's issue all season has been putting the ball in the back of the net. They play some good stuff at times, but often their final product lets them down. So it could be interesting to see if they manage to penetrate this Arsenal backline, which has been so strong all season and is the strongest backline and defence in the division, or joint strongest, should I say, with Liverpool. So this one could be very interesting. And for Arsenal, of course, they've got to find a way to beat this Brentford backline with their strike force, which has come under a few questions recently. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this one plays out before our very eyes on Saturday night. Now, as for a prediction, Brentford to get something out of this game isn't out of the realms of possibility, and it could be a very big possibility. But in saying that, I think Arsenal will have enough to get past this task and to overcome this obstacle, and I think they will do it in fine style as well, which is why I see them getting a clean sheet as well. I think their defence is strong enough to do that, and I think they will go on and grab a couple of goals as well, which is why I'm going to say that this game ends 2-0 to the Gunners. Moving on to Sunday's games now, and first up we've got a big top four clash at 2 o'clock for our viewing as Tottenham Hotspur take on Aston Villa at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Huge game this one for a Tottenham side looking to get back to winning ways after suffering back-to-back defeats before the international break to fierce rivals Chelsea, and then of course that huge collapse against Wolverhampton Wanderers, whilst Aston Villa will be looking to make it back-to-back wins themselves after obviously getting back to winning ways of a 3-1 victory at the expense of Fulham. Big game this one. Implications of top four. Tottenham could put some daylight between themselves and Villa with a win here. Villa could break into the top four and leapfrog Spurs with a big win in this game as well, and really cement Unai Emery's incredible reign as Aston Villa manager so far during his stay with the Villains. Aston Villa's away form though isn't entirely convincing. That is the one area I think Unai Emery does need to tidy up and does need to look out for the most. Tottenham, though, come into this game with a fair few injury concerns. They also have concerns with style of play in terms of has Ange Postecoglou adapted his style of play to accommodate for those injuries and to accommodate for the players that he has inherited, pretty much, because he's not been able to ship them out, or he's not been able to get rid for one reason or another. So it's going to be very interesting to see how both of these sides match up, how these two sides set up, and how they go about trying to combat each of their own issues that they currently have. Either way, I'm expecting a very interesting and very exciting game of football to be played out here between a Postecoglou side that has been very fun to watch this season and a Villa side who are always interesting to watch no matter what. So, very much looking forward to it. As far as the result goes, this is one that could go any which way. Like I say, Aston Villa's form makes it awkward. Tottenham's setup and the way that they try and play makes it very awkward as well to predict. So I'm not entirely sure how this game will end up, which is why I'm going to call it down the middle, and I'm going to say that this game will end 2-2 come the final whistle. Next up, we're off to Goodison Park for a huge clash between Everton and Manchester United, and I'm expecting a huge game. I'm anticipating a massive atmosphere for this one, with everything that has obviously gone off during the international break for the Toffees. You've got an Everton side who are coming into this game off the back of being unbeaten in their last 4 games in all competitions. In very good form are the Toffees, and last time out they beat Crystal Palace by 3-2. You've got a Manchester United side coming into this game who are statistically the most informed side in the Premier League. And given what we've said about Manchester United all season, given what has been said about United, not just by myself, but by everybody all season, you wouldn't have been expecting that now, would you? But after a 1-0 victory at the expense of Luton, United are coming into this game in fine form in the Premier League themselves. But of course, as we know, Everton have suffered with a 10-point deduction across the international break. We've heard the story, we've talked about the story, it's been well documented. I'm expecting and I'm anticipating a massive hostile atmosphere going into this game at Goodison Park for Manchester United. And unfortunately for United, I see them being the wrong team at the wrong place at the wrong time. And that is why I think Goodison Park is going to be hostile, it's going to be rocking, it's going to be insane, that atmosphere, when the kickoff comes around Saturday afternoon. And if we're to know anything about this United side from this season, it's that mentally they are somewhat weak. It is that this kind of atmosphere, or potential atmosphere, is something that they crumble under. Which is why I think Everton can get a very good result in this game. And I think that this whole points deduction thing will be a rallying call from Sean Dyche, will be a rallying call from the Everton fans to rally and to remain strong, a siege mentality, a unity there, because they, whether rightly or wrongly, feel hard done by, that the punishment was, in their eyes, that severe. As far as what happens on the pitch, like I say, United getting something from this game, entirely possible. They certainly have the star players to obviously get something. But with the form that Everton have been on in recent weeks, with the way that obviously they could rally around with obviously what has happened to them across the international break, with being at home, I'm going to say that Everton get something from this game. I'm going to say that Everton get the 3 points from this game, and that's why I'm going to go 2-1 to the Toffees. The penultimate game on this list comes from Craven Cottage for our Monday Night Football, where Fulham are going to be taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers. Big clash here for our Monday night viewing in terms of a relegation battle. You've got a Fulham side coming into this game off the back of a 3-1 defeat at the hands of Aston Villa. You've got a Wolverhampton Wanderers side who are coming into this game off the back of an incredible comeback victory against Tottenham last time out. Massive game here, in which, with all due respect to Fulham, I can only see one winner in Wolves. But Wolves will have to take their chances. They were the better side against Tottenham, and they've been the better side for a large part of their games. And in a few of them games, they have been hard done by certain referee decisions. But in also them types of games, they've also been the makers of their own downfall, because they are very, very good at playing football. They are very good at their build-up play until they get to the final third. And then when they get to the final third, either their final ball just isn't quite there, it isn't quite clicking, or the majority of the time, their finishing is poor. Wolves, hopefully, over the course of the international break, have been working on their finishing, because it could have been a lot better for them against Spurs. Obviously, it was the perfect result in the end for them. They managed to get the victory, and congratulations to them. But at the same time, it could have been a lot easier for them had they taken their chances. And we've said that time and time again about Wolves across this season. And ironically, they are facing a team that themselves don't really score that many goals. Fulham don't really score that many goals. They are certainly missing the likes of Alexander Mitrovic up front. And the replacement of Raul Jimenez just hasn't quite clicked into gear yet. Obviously, the hope for Fulham is that eventually he will. He did score in his last game, a consolation goal against Aston Villa, albeit considered, but the hope there is that he will now go on a goal-scoring run to fill in the gap and to obviously provide the goals that Fulham desperately need. I don't necessarily see it happening that way. Gary O'Neill's got this Wolves side playing some great football. They just lack a clinical enough goal scorer up front to really put games to bed when they matter most. But I am going to say that Wolves are going to come out of this game as winners here. And I'm going to say Wolves come out of this one as 2-0 winners. And finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this Premier League round of fixtures, the biggest game this weekend, it has to be Manchester City taking on Liverpool, the top two in the Premier League currently, going head to head, clashing at the Etihad Stadium. It's going to be a huge game. Not only is it the main event in my opinion, but this is also the game that is going to kick off the entire weekend and resume the season from its international break. What a game we have in store for our Saturday lunchtime viewing. Pep Guardiola against Jurgen Klopp. Erling Haaland against Virgil van Dijk. Darwin Núñez against Ruben Diaz. Ederson against Alisson. Rodri against Szoboszlai. Huge clashes right the way across the pitch as these two teams go head to head. I somewhat cannot wait for it. And there are big concerns as a Liverpool fan going into this. I look at this game as Liverpool, thank God we got that win against Brentford, otherwise I'd be really worried about this. I look at this game as a Liverpool fan and I think, thank God we got that 3-0 win last time out. I look at it from the Manchester City point of view and I think Chelsea gave them a real good go. 4-4 it finished between them and Chelsea last time out. Over the course of the international break, there have been a few injuries picked up. How fit really is Erling Haaland after picking up that ankle injury? Ederson, is he going to be properly okay? There are a few other concerns as well. I'm looking at it and if I'm Liverpool, I'm thinking this could be a very good opportunity and a very good time to be playing Manchester City right now. But it is going to be tough. The Etihad is never normally kind to Liverpool. We don't normally get any kind of good result at the Etihad. We sort of crumble there. And especially with the way that we play right now and with the way that we're obviously playing with a makeshift DM in the form of Alexis McAllister, I'm not entirely convinced by this Liverpool side going to the Etihad and getting a good result. Not entirely convinced. I think we can do it. We may need to adapt and modify our system somewhat. We may need to drop a few yards deeper. We may need to obviously accommodate for not having a proper DM. We may need to accommodate for Trent Alexander-Arnold in that right-back position being possibly exposed by the likes of Jeremy Doku and Phil Foden, maybe, depending on who's going to be playing on that side. But it is entirely possible that Liverpool can get something from this game. Chelsea proved it. Chelsea proved that they can go toe-to-toe with City across 90 minutes and get something from the game. Liverpool have to do the same thing. And they can. The likes of Salah, who is in inspired form right now, I'm sure will be a thorn in the side of that City back line. As will Darwin Núñez. He always creates chaos and mayhem whenever he is around. Had a great international break. Finishing was lethal during that international break. Can he bring it back to his club form? He's been very good this season. He's been very much improved. Be interesting to see if he can continue that form. And then the question is whether Diogo Jota gets the nod over Luis Diaz, or does Luis Diaz come into the fold? For me, I think on the counter-attack, it would be Diaz over Jota. But that's not to say that Jota can't have a say in this game with how lethal his finishing can be. On the flip side, you've got a City side that will be hurting from that 4-4 draw. They want to get back to winning ways. Jeremy Doku against Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to be a huge battle down that side. He obviously didn't get much out of Reece James last time out, but Trent might be a different story with obviously the more adventurous style of play that Trent likes to play. It's going to be on the likes of Joel Matip and Virgil van Dijk to sort of cover in those positions. Also, Kostas Tsimikas or Joe Gomez at left back. That's going to be the big question and possibly an area that City and Pep Guardiola are looking to exploit. It's obviously not Andy Robertson this time around for obvious reasons, but that could be a possible area of weakness that City look to exploit down that side, with Doku possibly switching sides from left to right depending on how the game is going. Either way, it's going to be interesting, it's going to be intriguing, and I personally cannot wait for this, but at the same time, I'm also terrified. Like I say, I have concerns with certain personnel within both sides. I also have concerns with Liverpool being involved in a 12:30 kickoff. I have concerns with Liverpool's away form. It's not that great. However, I think if there's ever a time to play City, it's going to be now. And with the inspired form of our front line, I'm either saying we can either have an inspired performance by our back line in the forms of Virgil van Dijk and Joel Matip and maybe even Trent or maybe even Gomez or Tsimikas, whichever way round you want to play it. I'm saying we have an inspired defensive performance and we steal this by like a goal to nil. Or I'm saying we go the whole hog and we try and outscore Man City, which is certainly possible with what we have at our disposal. And we do like a 4-3 or some madness like that. But as much as that, I want that to happen, and as much as 3 points is 3 points, and I will take 3 points no matter what. And as much as obviously the Etihad hasn't been kind to us in recent years, and as much as City at home are extremely dangerous, as much as I want to say Liverpool to win, that's what my heart is saying, and as much as my head is saying City will win, I want to go with somewhere in the middle, or somewhere lower down in my gut, and I'm going to say that this game ends in a draw. And I'm going to say that this game ends 2-2 come the final whistle. And there you have it. Those are your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the games that are coming up this weekend in another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures? Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions in the comments section down below. I'm sure they'll all make for interesting and great reading. I cannot wait to read them all. But also, don't forget to hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video. And I'll see you with you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Come on, Liverpool.